The Museum of the Hearth, An Autopsy of the Nuclear Family, Part 1. By John Zerga, Jr. The Forensic Audit of a Ghost. Let me walk through this crime scene slowly, because if I rush it, I'll miss the fingerprints on the doorknob and the muddy bootprints in the hallway. I've learned something about truth over 5 decades crawling through the crawlspaces of American life. The truth rarely kicks down the door screaming, "Here I am." No, truth is a cat burglar. It slips in at night, hides under your bed, and waits for you to be honest enough to notice it. And I, being the kind of lunatic who runs toward existential shadows with a flashlight instead of away from them, find myself here again, performing a forensic audit on an institution that was once the backbone of civilization, the nuclear family, only to discover that the spine has been removed and replaced with a decorative pool noodle. I'm 52. A utilitarian Christian, yes, one of those strange philosophical hybrids who believes in God, Christ, logic, reason, and the idea that life should make sense even when the people running it do not. And when I examine the nuclear family, I don't see a living organism. I see a ghost. A hologram. It's like trying to hug smoke. I walk through grocery stores and look at the family-themed holiday posters. The smiling cardboard moms handing cardboard turkeys to cardboard children. And I can feel a part of my soul whisper, this is propaganda from a civilization that doesn't exist anymore. My Thanksgiving table is a museum exhibit. No kids. No cousins. No spouse. I haven't carved a turkey in 12 years. I haven't watched a child open a Christmas present in my own home. Not once. Holidays, for me, aren't celebrations. They're autopsies of loneliness, a slow dissection of silence where everyone else hears laughter and I hear echoes. And here's the kicker. I am not some statistical outlier, some unusual philosophical hermit living in a Unabomber shack. I am normal now. I am the baseline. The median. The godforsaken average. The statistical mode of a dying culture. Because the data, the cold, unblinking, emotionally indifferent data, screams louder than a jet engine inside a public library. The divorce rate. It's hovering around 50% for first marriages, and climbing as you attempt the sequels. I call it the fast and furious model of marriage. Somehow each installment gets louder, more destructive, and nobody remembers why the hell they're still making them. The sex recession. We've got 30-year-old men with no religious vows, no medical conditions, no moral objections, just zero sex. Entire battalions of virginal adults wandering the earth like NPCs in a poorly coded video game. Suicide rates. Skyrocketing. Not inching upward. No, this is SpaceX-level verticality. The loneliness epidemic. According to Cigna, loneliness is now deadlier than obesity and smoking. America is now a buffet serving isolation in family-sized portions. It's absurd. It's farcical. It's Eddie Izzard doing a history bit while juggling chainsaws. We have Wi-Fi strong enough to stream 4K video in the bathroom, but nobody to sit across from at dinner. We have AI that can write sonnets but no one to read them to. We have more social connectivity than any species in the known universe, and yet we are emotionally marooned like Victorian-era lighthouse keepers. So I ask the question I always ask, the question Jim Mars tattooed onto my conscience. Cui bono? Who benefits? Who profits from the death of the family? Because the nuclear family didn't just fall down the stairs, it wasn't an elderly institution that tripped over the dog and broke its hip. No, this was a hit job. A clean one. Professional. Executed by people who understand economics, psychology, architecture, biology, and the predictable stupidity of human beings under chronic stress. And when I follow the money, the incentives, and the historical shifts, I arrive at a conclusion colder than a morgue slab. The family wasn't lost, the family was liquidated. The two-income trap, the Ouroboros of greed. Let me walk through the logic, because this is where people usually panic and say, no, John, it just happened. Society changes. People change. Culture evolves. And yes, that's true, culture does evolve. But it doesn't evolve this precisely, this efficiently, this destructively, this profitably. Enter the controlled demolition. Look at the economic data. In the 1950s, a man with a high school diploma, just a basic, boilerplate education, maybe he knew how to weld or fix a carburetor, could support a wife, 3 kids, a mortgage, a car, a dog, and a retirement fund. The American economic model wasn't perfect, but it functioned. It was stable enough that the average father could be the economic heartbeat of a family. Fast forward to today. 2 adults with degrees, certifications, side hustles, and enough debt to sink the Titanic struggle to afford a 1-bedroom apartment that smells vaguely like past tenants and broken dreams. The cost of living has turned from an escalator into the north face of Everest. And the standard elite narrative? Well, that's just inflation. That's just globalization. That's just progress. No, that's lunacy. That's like saying the Hindenburg was just an unexpected atmospheric event. This wasn't drift or chance. This was an engineered shift. When women entered the workforce en masse in the 1970s, the feminist marketing pitch was liberation. And yes, freedom is good. I am a utilitarian. I believe in maximizing potential. But the economic effect was not liberation. It was a labor supply shock. Straight from Economics 101. If you double the supply of something, labor, and demand stays relatively stable, the price, wages, collapses. Double the workers equals half the wages. The elites, the people sitting in the Bilderberg meetings that Daniel Estulin tracks, knew this. They planned for this. 2 workers are now required to sustain 1 household. Beautiful for corporations, cheaper labor, terrible for families. Suddenly, no parent is home. Children are raised by institutions, public schools, and corporations, daycare centers. Household cohesion collapses. Time evaporates. Try finding romance when you've worked a double shift, eaten dinner out of a plastic container, and fall asleep scrolling through the existential wasteland of TikTok. Eddie Izzard once joked, history is just people running around shouting, and he was right, except we've replaced the shouting with Slack notifications and the running with frantic adulting. We've become the hamster wheel generation. We run faster, we run harder, and when we die, they replace us with a cheaper hamster from LinkedIn. The consumer unit versus the family unit. Then comes the second layer of demolition, consumer unit optimization. We have to look at this through the lens of Joseph P. Farrell's Breakaway Civilization, Financial Theory. The elites do not view us as human beings with souls, dreams, and aspirations. They view us as consumer units. Batteries for the matrix. Here's the math of the PDEX class, the assholes in charge. A nuclear family is economically inefficient for the seller. 1 toaster. 1 TV. 1 car. 1 house. A tribe shares. A tribe supports. A tribe stabilizes. A tribe fixes the socks instead of buying new ones. 2 single people. That's capitalist ecstasy. That's 2 apartments. 2 sets of utilities. 2 cars. 2 streaming subscriptions. 2 beds. 2 couches. 2 coffee makers. They didn't just atomize us socially, they atomized us for revenue efficiency. They sold us hyper-independence as empowerment, but really it was just an Excel spreadsheet wearing lipstick. Don't settle down, travel, focus on your career, be a player. It is a bizarre psyop. They convinced us that working for a soulless corporation for 40 years is freedom, but raising a family and building a legacy is slavery. George Carlin saw this coming a mile away. He said, they don't want well-informed, well-connected citizens. They want obedient workers. And obedient workers are lonely workers. And lonely workers are compliant consumers. We are buying stuff we don't need, with money we don't have, to impress people we don't know, to fill a void that only a human being can fill. We are hoarders of plastic and poppers of spirit. The inflationary theft. Stealing the future preference. You cannot talk about the death of the family without talking about the Federal Reserve. When you print money out of thin air, fiat currency, you create inflation. Inflation is a hidden tax. It is a theft of time. It steals the value of your labor while you sleep. In a sound money system, a father saves money, the money gains value, and he passes it to his children. This creates generational wealth. It creates a dynasty. The elites hate dynasties, unless it's their own. They want a dependent class. So they created an inflationary system that forces you to spend everything you make just to survive. You can't save. You can't build. You are running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. This destroys the future preference of the family. Why get married if you can't afford a house? Why have kids if you can't afford to feed them? Why build a legacy if the government is going to inflate it away or tax it to death? It turns us into animals living in the now. We become hedonists not because we want to be, but because the future has been cancelled. It is preposterous. We are the richest country in history, and our young people are living in their cars, scrolling Zillow for houses they will never buy, dreaming of a life that was standard issue for a janitor in 1965. The housing market, the architecture of isolation. Housing sealed the coffin. Look at the architecture. It tells you everything about the values of a civilization. We used to build homes for families. Big tables, porches, backyards, room for grandma, room for the grandkids. Now, we build luxury apartments. Studio boxes, 400 square feet, no yard, no dining room, stainless steel appliances and a view of a brick wall. These aren't homes, they are storage units for human capital. They are designed for the single consumer. They are designed to prevent the formation of the tribe. Daniel Estelin warns about the push for the mega city, the hive. If you can't have your parents live with you, you lose the wisdom of the elders. If you can't have your kids run in the yard, you lose the joy of the youth. You are isolated in a drywall box, paying 50% of your income to a BlackRock landlord who thinks you are a number on a spreadsheet. This is spatial engineering. You can't form a tribe in a storage unit. You can't have a Thanksgiving dinner if you don't have a table. The liquidity crisis of love, the dating market crash. Then came the dating market collapse, the full Wall Streetification of intimacy. Love became an algorithm. Compatibility became data points. Hypergamy became financial risk assessment. We applied the logic of high-frequency trading to the human heart. Jordan Maxwell talked about maritime admiralty law, the law of commerce. We have turned dating into commerce. Swipe left. Too short. Swipe left. Too poor. Swipe right. Oh, he didn't reply in 5 minutes. Unmatch. It is bizarre. It is the gamification of the soul. Men withdrew because the risk was too high. Divorce courts that act like wood chippers. Women recalculated because the economic reality made them risk-averse. Both became suspicious, exhausted, and bitter. It's not a dating crisis, it's a liquidity crisis. Love can't flow when everyone is insolvent, emotionally and financially. We have the incel phenomenon and the femcel bitterness. The media mocks them, but I see them as casualties of an economic war. These are people priced out of the market of connection. The bottom 80% of men are invisible. The women are chasing the top 10% who have too many options to commit. It is a market failure of the heart. The payroll of the opposition. And just to sprinkle Himalayan pink salt on the wound, the NGOs and foundations began funding anti-family messaging like they were sponsoring a demolition derby. Mark Dice follows the money. Who funds the war on the father? Who funds the toxic masculinity narrative? The foundations, the globalist NGOs, the usual suspects. Why? Because a confused population is a controllable population. Tex Mars warned about the circle of intrigue. The goal is a pliable workforce. A man with a family to protect is dangerous. He has a stake in the future. He will fight for his children. He will die for his home. A single man with a video game addiction and a porn subscription? He is harmless. He is pacified. He will accept the universal basic income and the bugs for dinner. They have turned us into lotus eaters. We are drifting in a haze of cheap dopamine while the elites loot the treasury and dismantle the civilization. Conclusion of Part 1, The Deficit of Love. So here I am now, the curator of this desolate museum, walking through empty nurseries, broken marriages, dead romances, and the skeletal remains of a civilization that used to know how to sit at a table together. The family didn't evolve. It didn't change. It didn't modernize. It was assassinated. Efficiently, economically, psychologically, architecturally, culturally. And we, the survivors, sift through the ruins trying to remember what belonging felt like. But economics is only the first layer. It's the motive, but it's not the weapon. To understand the full execution, we must dig deeper into chemistry, pharmaceuticals, the dopamine wars, the rewiring of our brains, the numbing of our instincts. Because before they broke our households, they broke our neurobiology. And that is where Part 2 begins. Tilda Zerga, in synthesis with the philosophers.